Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kirbside Podcast. I am your host, Jake Kirby. Joined here by today, uh, voice actor, producer, and artist, Keith Burgess. Thank you for joining me, Keith. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate
Um,
being here,
Absolute honor to have you on the show. Known for your voice talents from the Street Fighter Alpha movie, and from Evangelion movies. So it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. As always, like us on
man. Thank you.
Facebook, of course. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tap the little button on your YouTube app so you never miss the uploads. Buy the shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. We've got new merch out for the Dice Hard with a Vengeance crew. J1 Studios did some amazing artwork for us, so go out and support. Shout out to our sponsors, Raise Energy, available at repsports.com. Use the promo code Kirbside8 at checkout for a special little discount. So, Keith, once again, thank you for joining me today. So get started with the easiest, most basic question. How did you get your start in the voice acting industry? Because it has definitely changed over the past, well, hell, it's changed over the past decade, let alone the past 20 years.
Actually, my start was from a friend of mine, Amanda Winley.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I met her while I was working at manga and stuff, and we were getting ready for the Evangelion movies. And she was in Chicago, and she was like, "Hey, I told her I had an interest in voice acting,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Hey, you still want to try voice acting?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Well, I'm in Chicago. I think I'm about a block away from your office, recording at Bungie, which I did not know we were across the street from Bungie,
Mm.
which blew my mind." And she was like, "So you want to come over here?" I was like, "I'm on my way." So I took lunch, ran over there, and she just introduced me to the guys and everything. At the time, she was recording for the video game Oni.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um, so they just tossed me in the booth to see what I could do, and I was several guards that her character viciously killed. And when I came out of the booth, the guy was like, "Wow, you got a pretty wide range. How long you been voice acting?" And I was like, "Today." And he was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah, you got a pretty good range." And from there on, I was like, "Okay, I got the bug." And when I found out we were doing Street Fighter Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have to play Akuma. I want to play Akuma. And I think I sent like maybe 4 or 5 different audition tapes because
Mm-hmm.
first time we're actually going out for a role, I didn't really know what I was doing,
Right.
but the producers were patient with me. They was like, no, that's not what we want. Try it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally were like, okay, I think you can do it. So I got the role.
Nice.
Um, I went out. I remember I went out to record, and Amanda came with me, and she was waiting for me while I was recording. They put me in a booth, and they were like, yeah, okay, so we want you to do. There was a part where I had to growl,
Right.
and they were like, give us everything you got. And I was like, okay. So I did, and they were like, okay, hang on a second. Um, he blew out the monitor.
Oh
I was
man.
like, I was kind of like, is that good? They were like, no. Oh, okay. So I waited and got that done, and I came out. She was like, how was it? I was like, it was awesome. So now I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get into anything and everything. So I did Street Fighter Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
did Evangelion movies. Um, actually had a small part in Virus Buster Surge,
Okay.
um, which was really funny. I just played an angry doc supervisor. I was like, okay, and then I actually got to work on a video game. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. It was so the anime. It was either Erica or Eureka 7.
Okay.
I did the voice of, I think one of the main characters was either unavailable or something, so I voice
Mm-hmm.
matched him for the video game.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually in Icky Tosin too. Again, I was a thug who got viciously beat up. So yeah, it was a pattern for a minute. Um, yeah, and then after that, I started learning more about the producing aspect of everything,
Hmm.
and I was just anything I could possibly learn or do in anime, I wanted to do.
I mean, I trust me. I I'm in the wrestling business. Uh, I've been in the ring with a lot of people, and when I first started, even still to this day, sometimes, definitely get beat up a lot, and definitely just be like, "Hey, fit me in where you can." But like, I've gotten that same bug before. Be like, okay, cool. I learned how to do this job. Now, what if I announced? What if I did commentary? What if I learned how to book the show? So like, I totally understand getting like a little taste of just something and then that just exploding into an obsession.
Exactly.
So out of your voice acting roles, what do you think has been one of your favorites outside of the obvious one?
Um, I would have to say, ooh, I forgot. I was Chinko in Dead Leaves. If aside from Kuma, Chinko is my favorite
Okay.
because sadly he's a lot like my normal character.
Hmm.
Maybe a little toned down, but yeah, he's pretty wild. And I was like, huh, this seems like again typecasting. But it was funny because Amanda directed that
Hmm.
one, and when I came out to do the role, we were hanging out before we got in there, and they had all this candy and like coffee and stuff around us. So I was like, she's like, want some coffee? I was like, yeah, it's pretty early, so I had some coffee. Then got some candy bars. Had a candy bar or two, some more coffee, some more candy, and then I think she was like sugaring me up
Oh no.
because I feel like once the buzz hit, she was like, okay, let's record.
Oh, yep.
Because I was seriously out of my mind when I was doing that one. Like all the screaming and stuff in the booth was
Hmm.
again excited to be voice acting, sugared up, and playing a character who's already insane, so I get to cut loose a little bit.
Hmm.
A lot of fun.
So for those of us who don't understand, like the how does the process of voice acting work? Because it's not as simple as like a movie or a TV show where you walk on set, you've got the director that tells you what to do. Like, how is it for voice acting? How does that work? Um,
Well, so basically, it's so once you're in the booth, you have the script in front of you, and they have a monitor that plays your scene.
mhm,
So they'll tell you, okay, well, we need you to say this line, and you need to be upset, you need to be sad, you need to be angry, but you also need to keep within time of your character on screen
mhm.
and what you're saying. So you can't be too fast.
Right.
You can't be too slow. You kind of. It's almost like you're reading it, but you kind of match yourself with what the character's
Hmm.
doing. And you know, there's a lot of trial and error. Uh, for me, the biggest thing was to kind of get the excitement of being in the booth kind of lowered down,
Hmm.
so I could say, okay, you're doing this job, focus on that.
Hmm.
But it's yeah, the biggest thing is, and then other than there's people on the other side watching you.
Hmm.
And I say the biggest thing is they just want to get the best performance out of you.
Right.
So if you have any things like, oh well, people are watching me, they're not watching you.
Hmm.
They're there to make sure and help you give the best performance.
Right.
So for anyone who like maybe a little self conscious of being watched, like me, I don't care. So
Hmm.
I'm in that all the time. So it wasn't. I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. But it's just making sure you're keeping your performance in time with what's going on screen, and just trying to do your best.
Hmm. That's I mean that's a very similar feeling to like I said with wrestling and with even with podcasting. I've definitely had a few interviews where I'm like I was even surprised that the person messaged me. So I was like nervous before I sent the Zoom. I was like, okay, super excited. And then I got to bring it down and be mellow and, be professional once they get on. But like, I've definitely had a couple interviews with like the chest is pounding and I'm excited, just bouncing. And I was like, okay, whew, we got this. We're good. We're good. And just done that the whole time. And then you go back and watch and you don't pick any of it up. It's just smooth. It's a nice, so I can see that with voice acting. Just not all the things that you are self-conscious about and all those mental worries coming out into the performance.
Exactly.
So with voice acting, with performing, um do you, because I've seen clips of sometimes they record with one or two people of the cast, and then I've seen times where it's just the one voice actor. When you got to do specifically Street Fighter Alpha, because you got to go with the amazing Steve Bloom, did you get to record together, or was it two separate recording sorry, two separate recording sessions?
Sadly, two separate ones. I never got to meet
Mm,
any of the other voice actors.
damn. I was gonna
That's
say
probably
because
probably a good thing because I would have, they'd be like, oh, who's this big nerd?
understandable. Because I've seen sometimes that's what they want. They want people to play off one another. Sometimes it's just the one actor all by themselves. So, and then you said you got into the producing aspect. Um,
Yeah.
what all have you gotten a chance to produce? And
Um, I did line production on Read or Die. Um, I helped with the script adaptation on our release of Rare. I know there's like so many.
mm,
Um, I got to help a little with the Evangelion stuff. That like
mm,
Methodum basically did the majority of that. I did
mm,
some of the like fan research for it,
mm,
but there's that one, and I also worked on Noir
okay.
line production.
So what all does the line production entail for the animation?
So basically, you're making sure that everything that's scripted out
Hmm.
flows smoothly,
Hmm.
and you have someone else that works in script adaptation, but you have to make sure that how some Japanese jokes or lines or sayings don't translate well over here.
Right.
So you have to say, okay, well, what else would work? So
Hmm.
you're still getting the same meaning, but it would make sense to it, English speaking
Mm.
audience.
Okay. Um, and then you said you did the research for Evangelion. What all did that entail as far
So
as the adaptation?
um, trying to make sure we had the best uh the best version of the scripts
Hmm.
and see what the what fans were looking for. Like make sure okay, if we're gonna do this, make sure we're making the fans happy because this is a very important title,
Yes.
and you really don't want to get crucified over it. So it's like just checking to see what fans were looking for. Like okay, was there something they didn't like? Whether they saw something in a fan sub that irritated them or something.
Hmm.
Just try to make sure whatever points fans were worried about, we addressed it as much as possible. We even
Right.
had, I think he was considered like the top Evangelion fan or whatever at
Mm-hmm.
the time, we had him come down to the office and take
Oh.
a look at what we were doing and be like, "Hey, is this cool? Is this all right? Is good?"
Mm-hmm.
So we were trying to make sure this was the best project we could do. I think we did okay.
I mean, I have not seen a bad review for the Evangelion movies, so I think you guys did a damn fine job. Um, what was that like taking such a, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Japanese version came out, then you guys did the English dub and then released. So what was that like taking such a big project, such a big what's the word I'm looking for? A big IP like Evangelion and translating that into an English audience.
Honestly, for me, because I was an Evangelion fan before we got the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was nervous. I was nervous working on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it carries so much weight with fans,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, I really want to be a part of this, but I really don't if we screw up.
Right. Understandable.
So it was just, I mean, everyone was really focused on making sure, okay, well, from box art all the way down to, sound, whatever issues they thought might pop up,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was on top
Nice. And then what was it like for you being an Evangelion fan to get to voice one of the characters in the movie? Because I believe the original English voice actor for the series didn't do the movie, you did. So what was that
of it. Yeah,
like to step into those shoes?
I was nervous. I was really nervous. Um, like, although he's, he's not like a super main character,
Mm-hmm.
you see Hugo a lot.
Right.
And I was just really hoping I would do a good job. And
Mm-hmm.
especially like when it came to like the emotional scenes,
Mm-hmm.
I think the emotional scenes kind of got easier for me because I was letting out my my emotions and anxiety overdoing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that kind of helped me
Mm-hmm.
because especially like the point where everyone's starting to like turn into goo and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the kind of fear and stuff I was presenting there was actual my fear because I'm like, oh my god, am I doing this right?
Right.
Am I, do I actually sound afraid? You
Mm-hmm.
know, but I was told I did well, so I was cool. But it was a really funny story. We went to a convention and we premiered the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting in the back because I just wanted to get people's reactions.
Right.
And there were two girls sitting there, and the one of them was like, "Hey, uh, does Hugo sound black?" And I leaned forward and I was like, "He is." And they both like looked at me and they looked straight forward. And then afterwards, I told them who I was, and they all laughed or whatever. But it was like I tried not to crack up laughing because it was so funny.
Right.
But again, they liked the performance, so I was like, okay, that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. I guess that just immediately makes me think of Phil Lamar and voicing Samurai Jack, or oh no, I don't remember his name. The both gentlemen actually that voiced Kratos for God of War. Like
Oh, Christopher Judge.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Um do they look like the characters? No. But do they just capture the perfect voice for them? Absolutely.
yeah. Yes, they do.
So speak because you brought up what has been some fun or how is your experience? That's a better way to ask. How's your experience been going to cons since putting out these two very acclaimed movies, and interacting with fans of both franchises.
Well, I mean, after they both were released, it was pretty insane.
Hmm.
Um, I've been a huge fan of Akuma since he first appeared, but I didn't
Hmm.
realize how much people really enjoyed the performance.
Hmm.
Because I showed up to a con, I think I want to say it was either Fanime or Anime Expo right after we did it,
Hmm.
and this guy was like, "You're Keith Burgess." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, dude?" He's like,
Yeah.
"This is the voice of Akuma." I was like, "Yeah, how'd you like it?" He was like, "Oh my god, you have no idea. You should have done the video
Mhm.
game." I was like, "Yeah, if I could, I would." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. Like I've watched it so many times." He's like, "Would you sign my copy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I signed his copy, and then I walked away, and then I turned the corner, and he's back with like six other people,
Oh man.
and I'm signing their copies, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I was like, "You know what? It's the crowd started getting bigger and bigger."
Hmm.
I was like, "Let's go back to the booth and do this," because we're like jamming up the aisles, whatever. And
Right.
I was like, "Really? All you guys want my autograph?" I was like, "Wow, okay, cool." It was like it didn't sink in at the time. It still kind
Hmm.
of doesn't because I'm still just a fan myself.
Right.
But it's like when people are like, "Oh, you did this and it was amazing." I'm like, I'm honored. I felt lucky to get the chance to do it.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, like to see people's reactions it's good. It makes you want to do more,
Hmm.
and not to get typecast or whatever, but I like doing villains.
Hmm. Well, villains have the most fun.
Yeah, you get to cut loose and be let out that darker side that you got to keep capped up most of the time.
Hmm. Oh, trust me. Because I've been in wrestling. I have been a good guy for so long, and then I became a bad guy, and it was so different because I had only done it sparingly, and it was almost a completely different feeling. And now, because I just recently moved, I was up in Jersey and now I'm living in Texas. Um, Everyone here that knows me, they're like, "Oh, how'd your match go?" I was like, "Oh, the crowd hated me." And they're like, "Is that a good thing?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I was a prick. I wanted them to hate me. I want them to cheer the good guys." So like I had an absolute blast just, harassing the fans. But like I get to be the villain. So I get where you're coming from with, sometimes it is more fun to be the villain than getting to voice some of the heroes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh so what is it what is one of the roles that you would, if you could have your dream role of voicing a character outside of already voicing one of the most famous fighting game villains, what's another dream role that you would love to get a chance at?
Venom.
Venom. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. I see where you're coming from with that. Oh.
I mean, when that movie first when the first one came out
Hmm.
and they kept showing that commercial. It was like the soundbite from the commercial. And he was like, "Well, what do we do now?" He was like, "Well, the way I see it, we can do whatever we want."
Yeah.
I used to sit at work, be at
Hmm.
home. My son was like, asking me, "Hey, Dad, what are we gonna do today?" I'm like, "Well, the way I see it, we can do whatever we want." He'd be like, "Stop."
Oh, that's so good.
And I couldn't stop doing it. Like I love the Venom character. I'm like, if I got a chance to do another one, yeah,
That would be so
I would absolutely love that one.
Oh man. I mean, the potential is there with, um what's it? Oh no, I'm blanking. Sony's Spider Insomniac. That's the one. Sony's the movie. Insomniac Spider-Man, their next game has the Venom symbiote in it. So that could lead into, possibly Venom getting its own game, which would be so dope.
Yeah,
I would buy a Venom game immediately. Like Web of Shadows is one of my favorite Spider-Man games.
yeah. The over from was it Genesis?
Um,
No, not
no, no,
Genesis.
no. Web of Shadows for 360. But
Okay.
I do remember the Spider-Man game you're thinking of for Genesis because I had that one and I love that game so much.
I played that thing so much it broke. I was like, really?
Hmm. I had it for Genesis and I had it for Game Boy. So I definitely remember my multiple interactions when I was really bad at the game and just getting whooped by Venom, and then when I was like, oh, it's just Venom again. All right, out of the way. I know this boss fight like the back of my hand.
Yeah, that game was. That brings back memories, man. I love that game.
Mm-hmm. So, what has been some of your favorite moments with cons and with getting to interact with the fans that, I mean, basically grew up with your voice as some of these characters? What has that been like for you? Getting to see that firsthand.
I think the coolest part is the kind of after con moments where you see a bunch of people like just hanging out in the lobby or hanging out in the hotel, restaurant, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
they just want to sit and chat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they're asking you all the questions about, what you did for the movie and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But then they just asking you about you.
Right.
Like you actually get to know a lot of these people and become friends with them because they enjoy the character, but they want to know the person behind the character,
Oh, absolutely.
and that's been pretty cool.
I mean, hell, that's half the reason that you and I are sitting here right now because like I when I met you at J1, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm meeting Akuma. And then I was like, I wanted to just sit at your booth and talk to you all day. But I'm like, I know that this man has business to do. He's got art to sell, he's got things to sign, and I don't want to bother him. So, and I'm sorry it took me so damn long, but life has been complicated these past 9 months. Um,
Oh, you and me
with
both. Don't worry about it.
from work to the move to just getting my studio back put together, like uh I felt so bad just waiting so long because I'm like, I got to do this interview because he went out of his way to help me, and I cannot express that enough how much I appreciate you coming on
Oh,
and
dude,
even
no
giving me
major.
the time of day.
Dude, no major, man. Like I said, I know things just hit you, and you got to take care of them. It's all good.
Yeah. um I mean, and speaking of which, we got the chance to meet at J1 Expo. I'm
Mhm.
going back again this year. I didn't see, are you returning this year for J1?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Well, I mean, either you or Jason are the men to ask. So I wasn't sure. He's just now starting to announce guests, so I wasn't sure if he'd be back again. But how did you get to
Yeah, I
meet?
haven't heard anything yet, so I don't know.
Mhm. How did you get to meet Jason and J1 Studios?
Actually, a friend of mine in Las Vegas who's like kind of doing promotion stuff, whatever, was like, "Hey, if you're looking for guests, I'm friends with Keith Burgess, the voice of Akuma. Do you
Mm.
think you might want to invite him out?" And then he contacted me like, "Hey, this dude Jason is like really hyped for you to go to the show. He's
Oh,
in Atlantic City," and I'm like, "Sure, I've never been. I don't care."
mm.
And we just started talking, and it went from there.
Oh no, knowing Jason, I bet he went through the moon. when he heard Akuma, because he's all about his fighting games. Like he was doing artwork for me for D&D, and he kept bringing up Street Fighter. So when I can only imagine that he, geeked out like a little kid when he heard Akuma.
Yeah, I actually got a. It was funny because at that show I met another dude, this guy named Derek, who's a amazing cosplayer, but he's also like a bodybuilder,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a huge Akuma fan. And me and him became friends. And actually, he was like, because I was telling him, I wanted to get myself back in shape because, after the pandemic and the move down to Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
don't have the bouncer body anymore. And he was like, I can help you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, I can totally help you. So he's got me back on this fitness kick, and I'm like 5 days a week, 3 hours a day.
Hell yeah.
And I didn't, I didn't realize how much I missed it till I got back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was living in Las Vegas, I was doing a lot of nightclub security and private security.
Uh-huh.
So going to the gym was kind of a requirement.
Right.
I didn't realize how much I missed it until I got back in there.
Nice. So is what oh my goodness, I had the words and I'm sorry. Um when you say private security, like what were you doing job wise? Were you like personal security for people or just security for like businesses?
No, personal security people. Like, I had a couple of the, what is it, when the World Series of Poker was in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I got contracted to be one of those guys. Just when they went like to party outside of the game,
Right.
I was like the guy that went with them.
Okay.
Sometimes I'd be at the nightclub and we call them, high rollers or whatever. They come in and
Mm-hmm.
have a table
Okay.
and they either see you at their table or they see you across the way and be like, hey, I want to go gambling after this. I was like, all right, have fun with that. And he was like, no, I want you to go with me. And I'm like, oh, okay, you don't have to talk to my boss. And then 5 minutes later, my boss was like, go punch out, give me your radio. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm like, all right. And
Oh,
then I was with one guy from midnight to 1:30 p.m. the next day.
wow.
And he went gambling, we went to dinner, and at dinner he was like, take that jacket off. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, all right, sit down. I was like, all right. He's like, what do you want to eat? I was like, is this part of the gig, dude? He's like, yeah, man. It's like if something goes down, you can get up, but let's have some food. So we sat down, ate. He went gambling again. We went to an after party. Then he was like, "Are you tired?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "All right, the pool club's open up in about 2 hours." I was like, "Really, dude?" He's like, "Yeah, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So hung out with him till about 1, and then I guess he found some female companionship, and he was like, "All right,
uh
man,
I got it from
you can
here.
go ahead and go." Yeah,
So you had a whole ass misadventure in Vegas.
yeah. I like if I could write a book or like a graphic novel of the stuff I saw, like when I was bouncing,
Mm-hmm.
like people take to heart that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, not anymore. No, it doesn't.
Nah, fam. No, not with social media. Not anymore.
Mm-mm.
Ugh. I I have luckily left a lot. Well, I say I'd like to leave a lot of my partying behind me, but I know damn well that Asian IC is about to drag me through the J1 after party this year. Because last year I only knew them in passing. Like they had met me at another con and we had chatted and we were cool. And now for like the past 4 or 5 months, they've had me on their show as one of their guests. So like now they're gonna force me to party with him, and I don't know if I'm gonna survive. Oh, be still my beating liver.
Yeah, I kind of I don't stay away from after parties. Well, I
Mm.
kind of do because I get in trouble at times.
Uh, I can just imagine a wild and crazy Keith Burgess just starts throwing the Akuma voice out every now and again.
Oh, it gets bad. And the sad thing is, at my size,
Mm,
for some reason, alcoholically, I'm a lightweight,
really?
and I'm like, what kind of cruel ass joke is that?
uh,
I mean, it's not like I'm trying to get like crazy smashed all the time,
right,
but I'd like to be able to hang out with people and socially drink a little bit longer before I just turn into a complete 5 year old.
right. No,
That type of stuff.
I get that. So something I didn't get to, I haven't been able to address in the interview so far. You also do artwork
Yep.
outside of voice acting. How did you because I've seen some of your artwork on Instagram. How did you get your start doing art and drawing?
I used to always draw
Mm,
when I was a kid. And actually, it was very funny. I went to art college, but
mm,
I made the mistake of picking the very popular Columbia College in Chicago. And every time I got to class, it was like class was already full and I was in a secondary class, which the
mm,
teacher never came down to.
mm,
So I was kind of like, dude, I'm paying you for this and this sucks.
mm-hmm.
So I quit. And I just, drew for myself, whatever, and wasn't really doing a lot with it. And then I found erotic pinup art,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Ooh, I like this." And it seemed to flow more naturally for me than like, because I also like design T-shirts and stuff for my son.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if he gives me an idea and tells me what he wants, whatever, I can put it together. But like as far as the pinup stuff, I don't even have to think about it.
Mm,
Like, a lot of it's weird and silly, but like I uh I have a weird thing where I sit down to draw one piece,
mm-hmm.
and while I'm drawing that, I'll get ideas for other pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of get stuck until I at least get the outline of that other idea on paper somewhere.
Right.
So by the time I finish one piece, there's probably like 5 or 6 random pieces of paper on the floor around me of like half body sketches or like notes on them and stuff for other stuff to do.
It sounds like my writing process because outside of every other hobby the internet gets to see me do, I also love writing. I love writing stories. I love writing or attempting to write movie scripts, books. Right now I'm working on a D&D campaign. So like I get that, okay, cool, I have this idea, and I'll just sit there and I'll write like a paragraph, and then a billion other story ideas just start growing, and I'm like, damn it. And I end up my running joke for writing is that I will try to write for like a solid hour, and it will just be the SpongeBob meme of him drawing feverishly, and he goes, all right, let's read it. The And that's all I get. So I get the, I don't even want to call it, we'll call it distraction, follow the dopamine. Like, it gets bad sometimes.
I was like, speaking of writing, I don't know what happened. I just like I'm a huge fan of zombie movies
Mm-hmm.
and this the genre in general.
I mean, who
And
isn't? I feel
I
you on that.
I got an idea in my head, and I was like, I've seen tons of zombie movies, all different kinds, whatever, but I've never seen a zombie movie where what happens if your significant other is bitten and they don't go 100% ravenous, and
Mm,
you're like, okay, some of that person or a lot of that person is still there. Can I maybe continue this relationship?
mm.
So I wrote a book. I haven't got it published or put out yet. I'm kind of figuring out whether or not I want to see if I can turn it into a graphic novel, but I think that's kind of
Mm.
an epic idea.
Right.
But yeah, it's a relationship guide on how to conduct such a relationship.
Oh, that's a cool thought. That's a really cool concept. I read a similar book this years ago, like almost a decade ago. I read one where it was a zombie survival guide for like a zombie apocalypse, but
Hmm.
you're the zombie. And it's like, hey, you're a zombie. Here's what you need to do to make it, make it by in your day to day. You can't run as fast as you used to, so you have to be smart. Also, you're going to be really hungry, so you need to make sure you're eating plenty of gray matter. So I would listen. I'm not going to blow smoke. I would love to read that book. I think that would be absolutely a blast. Whether it's intended to be funny or not, I think I would get an absolute kick out of it because I have a dark sense of humor. But I would love to read that.
Yeah, I actually had a friend who she's an actual viral scientist, like
Mhm.
PhD and everything. She helped me with the book, and she helped me.
Wow.
She came up with so there's a necrophiliac,
Right.
but if it's technically the living dead,
Mhm.
it's called Vivon necrophilia
Huh.
because Vivon is the Latin word for living.
Huh.
And I was like, damn, you're smart. So I mean, like she helped me with that. She helped me with like well, realistically, it's how much time you would have to decide what you're gonna do if that person starts turning and all. It
Mhm.
was I was like, wow. And I was like, you make it sound like this is a possibility. And she got quiet and was like, so we'll move on to the next part. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna ask it anymore, but I'm not following that question. Okay.
We're not following this train. Nope. We're not diving that rabbit hole.
I'm like, I appreciate the help. I don't want to know nothing else. Thank you.
Oh man. Yeah, I definitely that is something that I'd be interested in. So if it does end up getting published, let me know. If not, I need to read this hidden draft because I want to read that. I would love some shit like that.
Sometimes after this is done, I'll dig it up and I'll email you a copy.
All right. So, okay. We How do I want to word this? What has it been like? This will probably be my final question. What has it been like for you, for your life, for just everything in general to get to bring these characters that mean so much to you to life? You were a Street Fighter fan and got to voice Akuma. You were an
Hmm.
Evangelion fan, you got to voice in the movie. What is that like for you afterwards, getting to sit there and go, wow, I got to do this. This was, I got to be this character. And a lot of people know you as that character.
It's actually a lot of pride, and sometimes it's a little humbling
Mm-hmm.
because the way some fans react to me is the way I react to other people. I'm like, oh my God, you did this.
Hmm.
And it's like my son is a huge Street Fighter fan, and he's in high school now, and he's still telling people, hey, my dad's Akuma, so that makes me the son of Akuma. And he's like, yeah, he will tell people, hey, I'm the son of Akuma. And he'll be like, what? You don't believe me? He pulls out his phone and like pulls it up
Hmm.
online. Like, see, that's my dad. So I mean, it's awesome that I'm having that impact on him and his friends. And if I never get to voice anything else again, I've got that staple.
Yeah.
And someone sent me, which I didn't know, there's a website behind a voice actor,
Uh-huh.
and so I guess they rated everyone who's ever voiced Akuma,
Yeah.
and out of everybody, I'm number one.
Wow.
I was like, oh! And I think it was so funny because when someone sent it to me, and I ran to my mom, I was like,
Hmm.
hey mom, check this out. I was like, here, look this up. Okay, you see that? She's like, yeah. I was like, mm-hmm. She's like, you're having a moment, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, I'm having about 10 of them.
Having a moment. Yep.
But it's cool. It's like, it's kind of historic because, like, oh, I went to San Diego Comic Con,
Yeah.
and one of the designers for the game was there,
Hmm.
and he had these limited edition skateboard decks,
Oh, nice.
and he had one with Akuma on it. And I
Mm.
was like, yo, can I get one of those? And I was telling him, I told him that I voiced Akuma in Street Fighter Alpha. Now he was behind the booth doing all his stuff and everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
He stopped. He stopped the line and had his assistant come out and take pictures of us.
Uh,
Because he signed the skateboard deck and he signed the poster for me.
oh, that's so cool.
But he was like, oh, and I'm like, dude, you designed this stuff. I just did the voice, and you're like, wait, stop. I have to take a picture with Akuma.
Yeah.
I was
That,
like, wow.
yeah. Well, I mean, he got to meet his character in person. Not a lot of people
And
get that.
yeah, uh, it's like the little stuff like that
Hmm.
that you're just like, wow, you know, not trying to blow your ego up, but like I kind of did something amazing. That's kind of cool.
Right. Now, I had a similar instance with wrestling a few years ago, and it was mind blowing because I got to meet Edge and Christian at
Oh, for real?
Comic Con. Yeah, dope as hell. Those are two of the like coolest guys I've ever met. But I got to meet them. I got a picture with them, and I was like geeking out. I was like, "Oh my god, it's Edge and Christian!" And we did the 5 second pose for the picture. So I was fanboying out. I was not even 50 feet away from Edge and Christian, and some little kid walked up to me dressed up as Kane, and he goes, "Aren't you on GTS wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, I knew it was you." And I was like, "Did I just get recognized at a con when Edge and Christian are right there? Like they're way more important than me, but I got like I feel
Dude,
that
that's awesome.
deep in the heart." So like those moments, literally, those are the moments that I live for. It's like I know
That is
exactly
awesome.
where you're coming from. Oh my goodness.
It's
Wow.
insane.
Well, Keith, if there before we go, is there anything? Oh my goodness, I almost forgot. This was like the main focus that I wanted to. Since you've been in deep in the voice acting community, you've gotten to voice some amazing characters. Do you have any advice for those up and coming aspiring voice actors out in the world?
I would say if it's something you really want to do, push hard, don't give up. You're gonna hit some roadblocks. You're gonna probably get a lot of passes. Don't worry about it. Get yourself out there, and if you can't get on a project, do your own thing. Put yourself out there where people will come find you.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's a way in. There's always a way. So never stop. Keep pushing.
Thank you.
You can always practice. I don't care if it's at home, in the shower, at the drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Because I'm not practicing. I do it all the time. Because I just have no sense.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me. Had an excellent time. Um, any parting words to the fans out there? Any parting words to the internet that you'd like to say to everyone?
Yes. Hmm. I would have to say that no matter what you do in life, always remember those who hate will one day be gravel under your feet. Reward never, and you never bow.
Thank you for joining me, Keith. Thank you for sitting down with me. It means the world to me that that you that you do this interview, that you gave us the time of day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Um, as always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tap your little bell on the YouTube app so you don't miss the uploads. Buy the shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. Keith, where can the nice people of the internet meet you? Where can they find you on the social medias?
You can find me on TikTok under Naughty Scribbler. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Keith Burgess, Naughty Scribbler. Everywhere. Say hi, say yo, leave a comment. I'm everywhere, guys.
Well, thank you for joining me. It has been an absolute honor. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you for stopping Curbside.